Welcome to the new video seminary. Here is Dr. Hoffman. Subscribe and give me likes. Let's start now.
Academic writing is clear, concise, focused, structured, and backed up by evidence. Its purpose is to aid the reader's understanding. It has a formal tone and style, but it is not complex and doesn't require the use of long sentences and complicated vocabulary. We outline some of the main differences between certain important kinds of scientific and technical writing. These are essay, a short text of 1,500 to 6,000 words, which can be divided in 5 main kinds. The writer needs to know which type best serves his or her purpose. Informational or expository essay deals strictly with presenting the facts, is told in a third-person perspective, generally has a 5-paragraph structure, offers a solution to the problem, and determines causes and effects. Explanatory essay. This type of writing not only presents information, but also provides an explanation or rationale for it. It should help the reader to understand data better. Argumentative or persuasive essay is presented in a debate format, can be told in first or third person, holds either a 4 or 5-paragraph structure, uses opinions as points in an argument, and usually compares and contrasts. Descriptive essay has purpose of a description. It describes something. The object of definition can be a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. Narrative essay. The purpose of this essay is to tell a story. It will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It may have description and exposition, explanation, but basically it will tell a story. Scientific article is an essay written to be published in scientific journals. Research paper is a longer essay involving library research and consists of 3,000 to 6,000 words. Case study investigates a contemporary phenomenon within its real-life context, especially when the boundaries between phenomenon and context are not clearly evident. Case studies focus on understanding the dynamics present within a single setting. Case study describes an individual situation, person, business, organization in detail, defines the key issues of the case based on relevant theoretical concepts, and recommends a practical course of action for a particular case. Literature review is located after the introduction or background. Critically evaluates the existing research on the selected research area and indicates the research gap. It has summaries, reviews, critical evaluations, and comparisons of selected research studies. Several types of literature reviews. It could be part of a larger work and selective, then its introduction to a journal article, for example. If it is a part of a larger work and comprehensive, then it's a thesis, dissertation. If we have a literature review which is a standalone work, then, and it's selective, then we can say it's a course assessment, for example. And if this literature review is standalone work and comprehensive, then it's, for example, a review article. The research proposal is a written statement of the research design strategy, like blueprint, that often also includes a statement explaining the purpose of the study in the form of research objectives or deliverables, a definition of the problem, often in the form of a decision statement, the particular research methodology that will be employed, details of procedures that will be used during each stage of the research process, and schedule of costs and deadlines. There are three main types of proposal: formal and informal according to structure, internal and external according to the nature of its audience, and solicited and unsolicited according to the source of origin. Thesis is an extended, usually a written treatment of a subject, a dissertation embodying results of original research and especially sustaining a specific view, especially one written by a candidate for an academic degree, namely one submitted for a doctorate. Objectivity is generally governed by the research topic, although obviously it is individuals who actually have to select, arrange, and present their findings. Thus, it is your task as the writer to deal with your topic in a fair, objective, and responsible manner, keeping your personal feelings out of your writing. Precise references to data in tables, graphs, and diagrams also lead to greater objectivity in research findings. Simplicity of text and of text composition are important prerequisites to readability. You should always try to write in a plain, clear, and straightforward manner. Overlong sentences are lengthy chains of clauses, and groups of words can easily prevent your reader from understanding what you want to say. As a rule, you should not add more than 2 to 3 clauses of any sort to form one sentence. Repeating words, signposting, and using linking devices which help the reader to connect and relate information are useful ways of achieving clarity and readability. These are the representations in writing of verb forms normal in speech. For formality, don't use apostrophe. The letter in the verb has been omitted. Contractions should be avoided in academic writing. It's also normal practice to avoid using the personal pronoun I in scientific articles instead of we or the team are preferred. Some kind of switching between the different forms may nevertheless be appropriate in order to make the reader more involved in the argumentation. The switch from we or impersonal forms to I may help to establish the sometimes more desirable informational relationship with the reader. Information and facts are more important than personal opinions or attitudes. So blue is wrong and green on the right is correct. Here you can see some frequently used abbreviations for your scientific work. Brainstorm a topic, find sources, read and research, take notes, organize your notes in an outline or another system, add your evidence into your outline or plan. Outline, plan and write the first draft. Write without stopping to revise and edit. Use the commenting feature to make suggestions on what you want to change. Write from your notes. As you write, include in-text citations. Revise or review the first draft. When you revise or review, focus on the content and writing organization. Have peers or other writers give you feedback. Decide what comments and suggestions you want to make and change those things. Editing the first draft. Read your draft and check for spelling, grammar and punctuation mistakes. See if your sentences have variety and are correct. Check to see if your reference list and citations are correct. Publishing. Share or send your writing to others, teachers, professors or peers. Publish it in a book, journal, online, etc. When you publish a piece of writing, you can change what people think. How scientific articles are written depends on who the readers are likely to be. A more scholarly, academic, or discipline-specific journal will allow specialized vocabulary, while a piece in a more popular magazine, for example, will present and explain the data in an accessible manner for a wider audience. The writer must know what kind of people he or she is writing for. Articles and essays need to be a seamless whole, paragraph flowing into paragraph, ideas presented smoothly in logical order. Structurally, they can be broken down into these three parts: the introduction, the main body, the conclusion. Articles and essays need to be well thought out and ordered. How the writer introduces the piece, builds on the introduction through the body, and concludes will largely determine how the information is accepted. Step by step, the writer must present main ideas, supporting evidence, analysis, and conclusions in a logical and organized manner. Research papers are generally written for scientists working in the same field and therefore have a more limited and more specialized readership than articles. Research papers can appear in specialist journals or be presented at conferences. Title must precisely describe the report's contents. Abstract is a brief overview of the report. Introduction includes the purpose of the research, states the hypothesis, gives any necessary background information, and provides a review of pertinent literature. Methods and materials provide a description of material, equipment, and methods used in the research. Results states the result of the research. Visual materials are included here. Discussion means evaluation and interpretation. Conclusion presents conclusion to be drawn from the results, conclusions about the hypothesis, implications of the research and results, and additional research proposed. A list of references cited includes references to any works cited in the review of literature in the introduction. The purpose of a piece of scientific writing is to present information clearly and concisely so that it can be easily understood. Clarity, therefore, begins with the title. Here you can see an example topic. A microeconomic analysis of an elasticity of individual demand. In technical and scientific writing, the title is a precise description of the contents. It should include specific words to indicate the following: the topic, that is the main general subject you are writing about; the focus, that is a detailed narrowing down of the topic into the particular, limited area of your research; and optionally, for a scientific article, the purpose of your writing. This means including a word such as the following, which tells you, the reader, what kind of argumentation to expect. See the possible formulations: an analysis of, an assessment of, a comparison of, a description of, a discussion of, evaluation, explanation, and outline. Punctuation in the title. It is clear to type your title in lowercase rather than in capital letters. Use capital letters for the first letter of all the main words in the title, including nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, longer prepositions, conjunctions. Do not use capital letters for short structural words, except when they are the first word of the title, of course, such as articles, a and the, short prepositions of, in, to, at, coordinating conjunctions and, or, nor, but, or for. Be precise and concise, strive for clarity, and avoid terms with multiple meanings which might lead to misunderstanding. Use keywords from the paper to inform readers of the content, but try not to choose too many technical words, as this will not attract a wider audience. These are the most important words in your paper that are specifically related to your topic. Your editor may want you to identify these so that they can be printed at the end of the abstract, or sometimes after the title in the journal's contents list. Titles stand alone, they are not a part of the opening sentence or paragraph. Before you start writing. A primary tool for a writer is making a plan or outline before starting to write. Planning enables you to organize your thoughts efficiently, decide on the most effective way to present your information, keep to a logical sequence of points and not wander off on a tangent, remember all the information that must be included, and cut out unnecessary and irrelevant bits. Put your ideas in order. Have a goal, a main idea, and intent. Every idea, sentence, and paragraph must lead towards the goal effectively. Stick to the matter at hand. Omit anything that doesn't lead towards the goal, no matter how interesting. Have a reason for ordering your paper as you do, and convince the reader of your argument by developing it smoothly and logically. Each idea and concept with its substantiation should flow logically from one to the next. Chronological or sequential, step by step. Points are made one after another, in order of occurrence, from simple to complex, used when providing an assertion made in the introduction. Each step builds on the one before, from the obvious to the complicated, building the reader's understanding gradually. It builds naturally to a climax in the conclusion. From complex to simple, used when urging the reader to apply a solution to a problem. It states the problem and then begins to direct towards a specific solution. From general to specific, used when contrasting, comparing, from similarity to difference. And from specific to general, used when contrasting and comparing from difference to similarity. The list of content. Here you can see the two lists of content layouts. On the left, the easy one generated in Word and numbered up to the third headings level. On the right, the complex one. See the first line with 6 headings levels, mixing different letters and numerals according to the list below, from Roman numerals to lowercase letters in parentheses. The introduction does more than tell the reader what the subject of the paper or article is. Though obviously it must do that. It must also capture the reader's attention at the beginning, or they will never continue to the end. A good introduction gets the reader wanting more. In the introduction to an article, you present your topic in general, then narrow the focus on the topic and make a clear thesis statement. Your thesis statement expresses the central idea of your paper. Everything else you write flows from this and depends on it. The thesis statement needs to be clear and concisely and precisely stated. Many research papers propose a hypothesis instead of a thesis statement, especially if they are presenting research and findings and the conclusions are only tentative. The hypothesis states succinctly what the research is attempting to prove, and this directs the structure of the experiment. For example, in this paper it will be shown that, in this paper will be discussed, are considered. The present paper examines, presents. In this article we report on. Our or my attention here is to highlight. In the following pages we shall propose. This article will concentrate or focus on the arguments. The key question that this article will address is whether, or this paper will report on work already carried out in this area. Don't forget to relate your paper to present time. For example, in recent years has become a topic of lively debate, or the issue of has become controversial recently, or the question of has been thoroughly researched over the last few years. Lastly, indicate the structure of your paper. The article has 6 main sections. Firstly, we shall examine the question of. The next section briefly outlines. After a short discussion of, an overview of will be given. Or this will be followed by. The final section will present. I or we shall then go on to suggest. Writing the main body. The paper must be a whole. Each sentence should follow on logically from the previous one and lead into the next one, as does each paragraph, idea, concept, argument, and example, on to the conclusion. You should not include anything that doesn't directly contribute to your goal. Fascinating but unrelated bits of information must be omitted. Illustrations, examples, or interesting anecdotes that are not directly relevant must be edited out. They do not add interest. They sidetrack the reader away from what you are trying to achieve. Use of illustrations. In an essay or article, there are generally fewer charts, graphs, tables, or other graphics. They are used only if they are the best way of conveying the information. In an essay or article, artwork and photographs are more commonly used than in a research paper. In an essay or article, most illustrations is verbal, while they generally have no place in a research paper. In an essay or article, stories and anecdotes may be used to hook the reader, maintain interest, and illustrate by example an argument, concept, or idea. Remember that you should write, rewrite, and rewrite again. A first writing is not good enough. It must be improved. A second writing will expose the most obvious errors, and a third polishes. Better words, clearer thoughts, and more apt illustrations will present themselves to the writer. Paragraphs are the essential building blocks of your writing. They mark the flow of your argument, with each paragraph focusing on one main idea and a cluster of connected sentences to expound upon and amplify it. Your argument progresses by moving from the main idea in one paragraph to the main idea in the next. Paragraphs also provide the reader with visual help in following your argument as they appear as separate blocks of the text on the printed page. There is no ideal length that can apply to all paragraphs, since length depends largely on the content. However, as a general guide, it is helpful to the reader to keep most of your paragraphs to between 7 and 14 lines in length, say between 3 and 6 or 7 sentences. For the reader, too many short paragraphs make your writing too bitty, while too many long ones make it rather heavy and difficult to follow. There is normally one main idea in each paragraph, and this is expressed in a topic sentence. The other sentences support and expand on the idea in the topic sentence in different ways. The last sentence can often be important too, as it can be used to summarize the gist of the paragraph. The topic sentence is usually the first sentence in the paragraph, though it can be the second, when the first is used as a kind of introduction. You can test this by skimming an article quickly, just reading the first sentences of each paragraph and seeing if you can follow the overall development of the argument. Following the topic sentence, the other sentences can have a variety of functions: clarifying or restating the main idea, explaining the idea, qualifying the main point in some way, providing examples, giving supporting evidence, or commenting on the main idea. There is also some linking, either stated or implied, with the previous and the following paragraphs. Conclusion. A good introduction encourages the reader to read on. It sets the tone for the article, but it may fade in the reader's memory. What is remembered, on the other hand, is the conclusion. The conclusion should be an anchor in the reader's mind, a place where the whole of the essay is attached. A weak ending soon loses its hold and the essay is forgotten. The last paragraph is a conclusion, an ending, not just a stopping. It shouldn't simply be a repetition of the introduction, but should take account of all that has been developed in the main body. However, it is also not just a summary of your main points, it is the ending, so you should add something extra, something to complete the work, to round it off. What you may include in your conclusion: a summary of your main points, but written in a different way so that the reader can get a different perspective on them. Your evaluation of the topic. This may be a restatement of your introduction or modified in light of the evidence. An amplification or extension of your thesis statement, logically flowing on from your main points in the body. Your proposed solution to the problem you have discussed, or reconciliation between two opposing points of view, suggestions for further investigations in the topic or issue. What you should not include in your conclusion are, for example, the presentation of your thesis statement, or completely new evidence or points in support of your thesis statement, or the start of a new topic, or anything which requires a detailed exposition, or finally an opposing argument which puts into question or undermines your own. Plagiarism. What are the basic ways of avoiding plagiarism? All academic, scientific, technical and research writing must document all sources used. If you purposely use another person's writing as if it was your own, then you are guilty of plagiarism, the literary form of theft. Not to cite a resource used is the most serious offense, and the integrity of the writer and the writer's work will be seriously compromised if not dismissed outright. Every reference to another's work, word, or ideas must be cited. Provide detailed information in your footnotes or endnotes and bibliography about all the sources you have cited. Every paraphrase must acknowledge the original source. Make sure that your paraphrased material is written in your own style and language, and not simply copied from another person or their sentences just rearranged. Every citation from a book, magazine, journal, the internet, or speech must be noted. Every borrowing must be documented. Provide in-text documentation for each idea you have borrowed from someone else. Every in-text quotation, whole or partial, must be given due credit. Put quotation marks around each item directly quoted. See the year and name system, used mainly in biological and earth sciences, as well as the social sciences, education, or linguistics. The name and year system place the year in brackets immediately after the author's name, at the page number reference if needed, at the end of the sentence, again in brackets. All in-text citations must refer to your list of references at the end of your work. The number system used in the applied sciences, such as chemistry, computer science, engineering, mathematics, physics, and medicine. The number system. Place the number in brackets immediately after the author's name when it occurs, or alone at the end of the sentence. The numbers you give to your citations refer to your list of reference at the end of your work, and these can be arranged either alphabetically by author or consecutively as they appear in the text. As you add a page number reference to, it's up to you. There is a wide variety of reporting verbs and verb phrases that you can use to introduce a quotation. Here are some of the more common ones. Be careful about the verb tenses of these verbs. If you use MLA style, you should put the verbs in the present tense, both for personal comments and for quotations. If you use APA style, more common for the natural sciences, you should put the verbs in the past tense for citations and only use the present tense for generalizations and statements about unchanging facts. See the example quotations above. You can introduce your citation with any of these longer phrases where X stands for author's surname. References. Footnote provides details about the source of an in-text citation. It's placed at the bottom of the page where the citation appears. Endnote provides details about the source of an in-text citation. It's placed at the end of the article or paper and separate sheet of paper. Bibliography is a complete list of reference books, articles, and other source materials cited in your work, in alphabetical order by authors' surnames. It's placed at the end of the article or paper on a separate sheet of paper. The examples given follow APA style as governed by the publication manual of the American Psychological Association. Check whether this style actually applies to your own discipline. reference to a book, information to include names of the authors, surname first with initials for given names, year of publication in parentheses, title of the book underlined. Only the first word needs to have a capital letter. City where published and the name of the publisher. If you refer to internet, then name of producer of online website at first, internet address of the quoted material, date that the site was accessed online. Research paper abstract. Now let's speak about those parts of research paper which differ from a scientific article or essay. Abstracts are called summaries by some journals, though strictly speaking the terms are not exactly the same. A summary restates the main findings and conclusions of a paper and is written for people who have already read the whole thing. An abstract is a shortened version of the paper written for people who may never read the full version. Since abstracts are often reprinted in abstracting journals, separated from the original paper, they need to be self-explanatory. An abstract normally appears at the top of the page in front of the actual paper it outlines. The purpose is to inform readers as concisely as possible what is in the article so that they can decide whether to read it in detail. There are two kinds of abstract. Descriptive abstract, this provides a kind of content list of what will be in the paper, what the writer will deal with or attempt to prove in the article, rather than a synopsis of the actual results. Since it contains general statements, it is more appropriate for longer papers, such as review articles, and can be written before the paper itself is drafted. Informative abstract. This does not simply describe what will be in the paper, but also gives a summary of the main factual information, such as your methods and materials, results and conclusions. This type of abstract is more suited to papers or reports about original research. It is actually better to write an informative abstract when the writing of the complete paper is finished. The informative abstract will contain a selection of these elements depending on how you perceive the reader's needs: an expansion or explanation of the title, the purpose of the research, how the research was conducted, what the main findings were, what the findings mean, what recommendations can be made, exempli gratia for further research, what the limitations of the research were. Normally you would not include in your abstract any information that is not in the paper itself. Tables and diagrams, citations from other people's work. Research paper, structure of a research article. In this section, the researcher cites all the specific of the work done. Every detail needs to be included. The reason that this section must be completely documented is so that other researchers can duplicate the studies and hopefully duplicate the findings. Variables matter and need to be detailed. The failure to list pertinent particulars will throw all of the research and conclusions into question. Methods and materials. Answers the following questions: where, location of the work if relevant, what equipment and other materials were used in the research, they need to be thoroughly specified, and how the procedures and methods used in the research. Every detail should be included. Results. This section follows methods and materials. In this section, you present the precise data and findings from the research, often using visuals to provide the information. Data may be effectively presented in charts, tables, graphs, diagrams, and photographs. These should be accompanied by explanatory text to highlight and interpret significant facts. Discussion. This section follows results. In this section, you write about your interpretation of your findings and your evaluation of the research. In particular, you give your opinion as to whether the work supported and proved your hypothesis or whether it didn't. You can also explore the success or failure of various research methods, how the studies might have been done differently to investigate a problem better. Finally, I wish you good luck in writing your academic writing piece of work.
At the end, there is just to say subscribe and give me likes. See you soon.